talking about corporate influence, there's another huge industry is weapons manufacturers, the NRA and the super PACs that align with them. I mean, they have a vested interest in making sure we have as many guns as possible in this country. And, Colorado just experienced a horrible shooting at Evergreen School.
Honestly, I think it all really kind of ties back to this issue that I was trying to touch on in that letter that I wrote that I got fired for, in that there really is this lack of empathy for just human beings and the sanctity of life. And I say that, it's ironic because we're talking about a party that talks about being pro-life, and we're talking about this incredibly aggressive defense of weapons that are directly responsible for the incalculable loss of life in this country due to gun violence. And it's just one of those things where the first and only thing we need to be talking about is gun control, right? We can't talk about anything else without having the conversation of addressing gun violence in this country with gun control. And I think the very first thing that we have to do is allow the FDA to study it. Right. I think I was among millions of people that were probably surprised when Obama shared during a town hall that the FDA isn't even allowed to study gun violence and to study how we can try and reduce it because of the influence of lobbies like from the NRA, which is just absurd. So that's something that needs to change immediately. Right. And then we just have to be talking about common sense gun control. And the vast majority of Americans are in support of policies that would address this kind of violence. And so universal background checks, red flag laws, storage safety laws. These are very common sense, simple solutions that we could pass that most Americans support already, that could make a meaningful difference in addressing the access that we have to guns in this country. And then I think we have to be talking about the circumstances and the environmental factors that lead individuals like the young student in Evergreen High School to attack their own classmates, or the individual in Utah who decided to assassinate Charlie Kirk. There is a certain level of, I would call it nihilism and extremism that comes from that, in that I think one of the problems I'm really trying to address in this campaign is how young people like myself feel like there's so little that we have to look forward to in our future, right? Whether we're talking about the burning of the planet, the lack of our economic insecurity, the degradation of our democracy and the institutions that are designed to protect our liberties and our freedom. We have a pretty awful outlook about what's coming up and down the road. And so I think addressing that and being honest about how those anxieties can make younger people, especially young men, particularly vulnerable to this kind of extremism and feeling like this is the only way out is a very incredibly important thing we have to address. And that also includes big tech, that includes the social media companies that are using division that we have politically today, the disagreements that we have to incite more hatred and anger for one another. And it's something that I used to struggle with in being able to find common ground with the other side. I think that's a really hard thing for people to do. And then I remember it was around the time that I actually decided to write the letter. I had watched a documentary called The Insurrectionist Next Door. It was about 6 or so insurrectionists from January 6th. I think half of them were in prison, the other half were out. Some of them were remorseful. Some of them said they would do it again. And some of them had voted for Obama in 2008 and 2012. And it was just fascinating to understand their mentality and why they thought this was a necessary thing to do. And it was still a crime. They should still be punished for it. There should still have been consequences without question. But I don't think we can actually get to a place of understanding and get to a place of solving this problem and preventing it from happening again without understanding it and understanding why they felt pushed to do something like that. And of course, the extremism, the inciting of violence, not only from the president, but from these online groups that just thrive off of this kind of anger and anxiety is something we really need to be addressing. And that being said, for Charlie Kirk specifically, at the end of the day, I am a person that really genuinely mourns the loss of all life. It does not matter to me who you are, what you believe in, who you voted for. I think a loss.
Hey there, if you liked that video, then subscribe to my channel, click on the link in my bio to follow me on Instagram, X, and more.